Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Monday. Let's see who's here. I know we have a little bit of a delay. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. It's coffee time. Um, Good morning, Beverly. It's a drizzly day at the beach, huh? Robin, hello in cloudy Wisconsin. Mom, also warm and sunny. Warm and sunny? Okay, in Granby. You're not that far away from me. I'm not warm and sunny. I am really gray and gloomy. But good morning, everybody. Good morning if you're just tuning in. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking Coffee Time Monday morning. It is already May. I don't know if you've noticed, but I haven't put out the May pattern yet. My eye just started twitching when I said that. I know exactly what it is. I just need to do it and hook it really fast. This whole slow mail thing for me in the last few weeks has been such a killer. I can't even. There are no words for how much of a killer it's been. But that is coming along in the next couple of days. I promise that's coming. It's going to be the best one yet. Martha, good morning. Also rainy in Ontario. Penny, good morning. In North Carolina, awaiting the storms. I know it. Oh dear. Chrissy, good morning. Oh, Chrissy, thank you. Chrissy's saying she had fun last night in the class. We had a great class last night. I ran the design class, the monthly design class, design in the style of. And the first one, as you probably know, was Magdalena Briner Eby. I chose her because she's such an early designer and rug maker, and she's so special, and she created so many different sort of motifs, things that are completely unique to her. And it was such an interesting sort of time for somebody in a really remote and rural part of Pennsylvania to be doing such original work, apparently like in a vacuum, not really working with anybody around her or any other family members even. So it was such a nice class on Wednesday and again last night. It's always so nice to see what everybody comes up with, and the brainstorming and the snowballing, the spitballing. One idea leads to another idea, and then it's so nice. I've been missing that in my life so much. And I think that's the reason people as adults return to school or take classes at in the evening at the community school or whatever, because it's so nice to hear other people's ideas and contribute and build on another person's idea. And that's just what it was last night. It was talking about designing, but also looking at some designs that people were evolving and building on them, and making guesses and making suggestions and ideas. Super fun, super fun. So next month, and I'll set it up and I'll announce it in the next probably a week. The next design class in the series, the monthly series, will be designing like Matisse. So that will be a real departure. Although Magdalena is very shape driven, and so is Matisse. Matisse is also, as you know, very famous impressionist artist. And he works a lot with figures, and he does a lot with altering figures. I've been seeing a lot of things pop up on Facebook, different classes and things. One of the classes I keep seeing is altering dolls, which is not something I've done before, not something I have, unfortunately, time to do right now, unless I'm doing it for my son. He's constantly altering dolls to customize them to be video game characters that don't really exist, or things that he's created. And the more I think about altering dolls, altering like a human figure, the more I think about Matisse, because he does that with shapes in the same way Picasso did, but I think a little more easy to grasp, a little more tangible. So that will be the next class. That'll be super fun too, and I'll get that ready soon. So part two will be designing like Matisse. We're going to be mostly looking at the human figure, but also looking at plants and some of his main motifs that he would use in his most famous work. So that'll be super fun. Janice, good morning, and Linda, good morning. Jolly good day. I hope so. So far, so good here. Nothing terrible's happened so far. Just stress, but that's manageable. And good morning. It was so fun last night. Karen, good afternoon. How are you? It really is the afternoon. Ralda, good morning. Afternoon. Happy Monday. Oh dear, Mom. Heather, happy Monday. Oh, we got to touch base. April, happy Monday. Carol, happy Monday. Brandy, good morning. Happy Monday. Well, it's so good to see everybody. It's always hard to get going on Monday. I got out all of the kids for the dye class. So the dye class is closed now for Mother's Day. I just don't trust the mail at this point. Unless you want to express something, I don't trust the mail at this point to get anything there, quicker than like 2-3 day. So everything's out. Canada went out last week, which is a good feeling because those should be there like today or tomorrow. Those were sent fast. Everything was sent out, but I was waiting for my wool again, and I just don't understand it because my buddy Naomi at Ravensgate Primitives, she ordered her wool the same day as me, and she's had hers for like a week, and mine just came this morning. So I shot out to the post office, dropped some stuff off fast, and then I realized that my wool had been delivered and came back to the house, cut it all up, put it in things, and got it back to the post office. And they were like, "Gosh, we just saw you 20 minutes ago." And then I raced over here to do this. So I'm a little bit addled, but it really was a fun weekend this weekend. I hope yours was too. The class was great. And even beyond that, I had a bit of a little adventure this weekend because I went to the first flea market of the season, which is a big deal. I don't want to talk about it too much because I know some of you don't have flea markets right there in antique stores, and it's like a source of frustration and sadness. It is so nice to be able to be out and do flea markets, of course, everybody being careful and all. But the Elephant's Trunk in Connecticut is a huge flea market, and I went with my sister, who I did the video with, on the Tudor dyeing versus the fiber dyeing versus paint pigment. So we went together, and we look for different things, which is very nice. There's no competition with us because we like different things. But I found some rugs, which was really, she found a rug too. First of all, I found this rug. It's not a super exciting one, but it was $10. And it's not that I would buy every $10 rug I find because that would add up quickly, and what would I do with all of the rugs? But this one had something. Speaking of, if you watched Cocktail Time on Friday, we're going to return to this point in a minute, but the big point that William Winthrop Kent makes in the hooked rug is there is, for him, writing in the late 1920s and the book being published in 1930, there is a big gap for him in his mind, in his taste, between rugs that are just made and inexpertly done. He finds them not quite beautiful. He often calls them ugly ducklings. But then there is a category of rug that he feels has this magical quality. And he believes it comes from the heart. It doesn't come from any skill or knowledge or training. It comes from the heart. And it's, I guess we would call it talent. This rug has that latter thing, not the first thing, the second one. I don't think it's an ugly duckling at all. I know, right? Hey, Kirsten. I know, Linda, we were lucky. The only thing we weren't lucky about was the forecast was low 70s. I'm such a complainer, aren't I? I'm just the worst. It was low 70s, so I had jeans on and like a cool linen shirt. And it was so hot. When it's like so hot and you're in a field and you've been walking for 3 hours and and you're only halfway there, you've got 3 more hours, and your pants are sweaty and your shirt and your undergarments you're clamming up and your tummy's starting to do machine, and it's just like, oh, God. And finally the sun went in, which was nice because it was like, I don't handle heat well at all, I guess. I just get so crazy, and I was thinking, God, I just wish I wore like a crazy skirt or something like that, a loosey-goosey skirt, because it's hard to be uncomfortable out there under the direct sun. But other than that, it was super fun. This is the not ugly duckling that I found. I put this as the cover picture. Back up a little bit. It's a hearth rug. It's long and skinny. It's an older rug for sure. It's not super original. It's probably a commercial pattern. I would say certainly a commercial pattern. But, it's pretty. It's pretty. And it's a little bit ratty on the front. They've used as much yarn as they've used wool. Let me try to get you a little bit closer. So some of it's kind of pulling out a little bit. The yarn they used, I don't know if they doubled up on it or what, but the ply, it's looped. It's not cut. But some of it's kind of been ripped over time. It could be used. It could be that the yarn wasn't like a super high quality. They appear to have used a mix of yarn and wool, mostly yarn. But it is a really beautiful rug. I usually don't go for rugs that are typical floral motifs, particularly when they're pink and brown, because that's probably the most common combo you find. But in this case, $10, and it was so pretty. I figure it can go over like a larger window or something, almost like a little valance, just pop of color up there. So I was happy with that. And I was even happier because I'm sure you remember back to the episodes where we talked about the elusive and mysterious Priscilla Rug Company in Maine. And I have been working on a writing project with the family for a while. That's well evolved at this point. So I don't say too much about that now because I'm working on something that will be up hopefully soon. But it is hard to find the Priscilla rugs, and it's very hard to find them with tags on them because it was a absolutely routine thing when the rugs were sent to, for example, a department store or just a reseller. People commissioned them and they were ordered for different stores and different designers, architects, interior designers, all kinds of businesses. And when they arrived, the tags were routinely cut off of them. And those tags included the number, which was the design, and it included the name of the person who made the whole rug because it was their company policy to have one person work a rug. They tried at one point to have more than one person work the same rug, but they found that the slight difference in style from one person to the next, even if it was just a really very, very small difference in the height of the loops, they worked in yarn, whatever it was, you could see a difference where the two workers met in the middle of the rug. And so they decided early on in Priscilla that they weren't going to do that. So each tag contains the name of the person who really was the only person to make it. We found two of those at the same stall. And my sister bought one, so that's at her place. I'll post a picture of it on her floor. She needed an oval rug that was mostly black, that had a real Art Deco feel, and this rug absolutely ticks every box. Relda says, a couple of years ago, I was very lucky to buy two very nice Claire-Murray oval rugs, 25 each. That is really nice. That's a very good price because she's still so desirable. She's still so desirable. This is the Priscilla rug that I took. It's quite big. Let me back it up. I'm going to need to meet when I back it up these days. A little bit hard to see. Let me get you into the oval a little bit. It's a big rug. This is the oval. This was $20. So obviously it's not in super great condition, but obviously I was not leaving it there for $20. Lots of peach, sort of apricot, sage green, a little bit of lilac and grape. There's a little bit of loss here, as you can see, these flowers here. So I'll decide what I want to do with that. Beautiful border, really well articulated veins, right? That sounded weird. But, it's very stylistic outlining that they're doing here in kind of a dusty rose color and black and like a dove gray. I really, really like it. These are typical colors for them. And again, what is not typical is to see this tag. So let me show this to you. This is a big deal to me because I'm working on a writing project. I'm really happy to find their tags. So this is actually not the tag I was looking for. This is the Turner Rug Guild. I'll still show you this tag. Hard to find. It's a bit rippy. I think maybe, I'm wondering if it was only my sister's rug that had the maker tag with the name on it, because I know her rug did. I just assumed mine did too. When I found them and they were such a good price, thanks Penny. Yeah, this one doesn't have the maker tag. I'll show you a maker tag, but this one just has like the, what does it even say? Something of an early something craft, rug is made, blah, 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 virgin wool. And it says the guild. It says Turner Rug Guild. I know what that is. You know what? Let's save all the Turner info for when I get this writing project finished, because I don't want to spoil it or have it hijacked from me. That's been happening to me a lot lately. So I'm going to keep that under my hat. But I just wanted you to know that I found these beautiful rugs, and this is important. This is an important part of rug cooking history, certainly the Priscilla rugs. So to be continued, and as soon as I am back over at my sister's, I'll take a picture of that beautiful black oval rug. Now, I don't think I had time to show you this. You know how I'm always touting Facebook Marketplace if you're a person who enjoys being on Facebook. Marketplace is where people sell, and I found a rug there just over a week ago, and I just haven't had time in the normal course of commentary and coffee time to show it to you. But this person posted a rug that her grandmother had been doing, and it sounded, she didn't know for sure, but it sounded like her grandmother was one of these rare people who finish rugs, right? I can't really identify with that. She would actually finish a project, whip the edges or finish the edges, and use the thing. So alien idea for me. I never finish anything these days, but it made me think that this was possibly one of her grandmother's last rugs, and she thought kind of the same thing. But I'm sure it's definitely commercial design, and I don't know who it is because she's beautifully closed all the edges before she got going. She's sewn the edges down on a sewing machine. Let me be real careful because I am going to finish this. Rarely do I get a rug that I plan to finish, and it was attached to a frame. I don't really know what to do with the frame. It's not the kind of frame that I would use. But this is what the rug looks like, and I just think it's beautiful. It has a bit of a Currier and Ives feel, a bit of an Anne of Green Gables feel too. I love the gentle scroll. I love the leaves in the corners. I love the little pops of flower that she's got. It almost reminds me, if you know that movie, Room with a View, it would be set a bit earlier than this is set, but that beautiful scene where they ride a horse carriage out to the poppy fields in Italy, it reminds me of that a little bit. You know, much lower grass and less wildness to the landscape, but it reminds me a little bit of that great scene in that great movie. But I just love the composition. I love the spotted horse. I love the carriage from the back. It's almost like the way that I don't know if this is a Pearl Gown or what. And if you or Jane, if you do, please let me know. I'll look for it, but I haven't had time yet. So I love the way that the horse and the two characters are facing out, like they're facing along the path to where they're headed, toward their destination. You're not seeing faces. You're just getting an idea that they are on a journey and they're taking you with them. And I think it has a beautiful quality of peacefulness to it. You almost expect a composition like this with a horse and a cart kind of a thing to be, because this cart has wheels, which is also a bit unexpected. I mean, it almost looks like automobile wheels, but you almost expect this to be like a winter scene. You almost expect to see snow on the ground, you know, and it's a summer scene. And I don't often see things like this. I don't know if her grandmother put in all these different flowers. Do you see what I mean? You've got like a couple little marigolds or black-eyed Susans, or you know, a little scattering of flowers that are really pattern-like as opposed to realistic. I think it's just beautiful. I think it's just beautiful. I thought it was beautifully done, and she's done everything except the rest of the border. So as soon as I have time, I'm going to match that. My eye just started twitching again when I said as soon as I have time. I'm going to match that and finish it because she got so far. It's good, isn't it, Linda? She got so far with doing it, and you know, I want to be sure that in the end it does get done. She did a beautiful job. It's a number, I would say that's a number 4 cut all over. So that's easy. That's easy peasies, and I'll finish that and I'll show it to you when I finish that. It won't be soon, but it will be eventually. So those are some of the things I found lately. It's, you know, and even if you don't have shops near you, you can find them too if you're online and you search. You know, you have to pay for shipping, but shipping a rug really shouldn't be that expensive. They aren't super heavy unless we're talking about an enormous rug. Little hooked rugs and stuff are not super expensive. So I hope that you're finding stuff too now that it's turning into spring and things are cheering up, and I hope you're finding things you like too, and treasures. I know not everybody's in a place that's great for hunting and searching, but I hope that you are. So let's see, where did we leave off for cocktail time? Oh, thanks, Brandy. Yeah, that is just a beautiful rug. And like I say, I typically won't pick. You know, I have a bunch of rugs that I have yet to list as Adopt Me rugs that are partly done, and most of them I just can't face them. This one, it's just the border, so that is a really finite amount of time I see dying for just that. When it's a rug that really needs a lot of stuff done, or a completely new old stock rug that hasn't been begun, it's not for me right now, with things being as happily busy as they are. So when we left off on Cocktail Night Friday night, we were talking about William Winthrop Kent and this landmark book, real breakthrough book of 1930 about rug hooking. And I'll just reiterate that he was an architect, and he had a real passion for hooked rugs. He thanks in the introduction both Helen Albee of New Hampshire, who did the Abenaki rugs and wrote the book on Abenaki rugs. Those were Native American inspired designs in rug hooking. Very original idea at that time. And she built up a whole sort of school and following in her locality, you know, revolving around the Abenaki rug theme. really big part of rug cooking history. And he also thanks Ralph Burnham, who was the antiques dealer from Ipswich, Massachusetts, outside Boston. And he was also the person who did lots of copies of rugs that went through his hands for repair and sale. And he created a very, very thorough and large early inventory of hooked rug designs. We don't know who did the original designs for them, but at least the designs were recorded for posterity. Now, in this book, he will often talk about one of the points that I made that I think was an important overarching point on Friday was that when this book was written, we really are not talking about hooked rugs as being folk art. So when Kent, as a trained artist and architect, a lot of art training, is looking at rugs that are very primitive and rustic and are made by hands that are not trained or taught, he sometimes looks at things in a way that I feel he's kind of missing the point. He's looking at them in terms of technically, are they good or bad? Composition-wise, are they good or bad? And he's very quick to dismiss the ones, in my opinion, that are not good. I think this is the date of the book, that, you know, this sort of feel of these are primitive. He uses folk or peasant art, like expressions like that, often to describe the art, the makers of some of these rugs who are less successful at all of the devices and techniques that he likes to see present in what he considers a successful rug. Now, many of these rugs I consider my favorite rugs are the ones that he considers ugly ducklings. This is all subjective, right? It's all subjective. So he talks quite a bit about, you know, the naive style of some rugs and that magical kind of elusive quality that some of them have that you can't really put a name to it. I think we would now say it's folk art. But at that time, without that particular language, he's saying it's either good or it's bad. It has a magical sort of quality to it or it doesn't. Once in a while, he waxes very poetical, and he talks in really glowing terms of makers who have been, in his opinion, very successful at doing a unique pattern that is not commercial. If you remember where we left off, he was talking about the village store, and he was remarking on how he wasn't a personal fan of how women would go to the village store and buy a commercial pattern, because he felt that a commercial pattern was a bit too restrictive, a bit too dry, not enough room for personal expression, not enough room for sort of inserting that magical quality that he likes to see. And I can see what he's saying. I can absolutely appreciate the point that he's making. First of all, we all commented by saying, wouldn't it be nice if the village store, number one, existed, and number two, stocked hooked rugs and supplies? That would be amazing. That's a thing of the past, but maybe not the future. Who knows? Let's see if we can turn this bus around. Try to cut for a few minutes. Oh, you had your second COVID shot and you weren't feeling well. I know that's almost universal with the second shot for people. Luckily, it comes and goes so fast, right? And it's so worthwhile. Still being so careful, though, right? Oh man, what a time we live in. So we left off talking about, I showed you some examples right before we closed of rugs that he thought were very successful, that were certainly not commercial patterns. And he really liked them. That's where we left off last week. And then and you know, I also want to add that he does make a note, not just about the village store, but about the kinds of tourist stores that are already in tourist areas, so not in rural areas, northern New England, Canada, places where tourists will come through, stop at little shops, and they will already be stocking small hooked rugs, like little coaster-sized rugs, little mats that we would now say are like mouse mat size, that kind of very small size. Also large rugs, but most people are picking up for souvenirs very small examples of original hooked work. All of these examples, whether you got it from Chatty Camp or you got it from Bar Harbor, they're all going to be patterns that are repeated over and over and over, right? They're all going to be like cookie cutter patterns, different makers, different colors, but I mean, these are very small rugs. These are souvenirs. What a beautiful souvenir, right? If only people still had souvenirs, bumper stickers, wool pennant flags, and all of the things I love. The souvenirs that you get offered these days are utter garbagey garbage, right? Should be in the garbage instead of on the shelf. But in any case, he's also not really a fan of these kinds of souvenir rugs. And I'm sure you can appreciate why. He considers them a very low version of the art because they are not original, right? They're patterns that are being cranked out in huge numbers. But at the end of the day, they're souvenirs. And it's just to take home for someone that can't afford to buy a giant, floor size Newport Mansion style rug. These are for people who just want a small little souvenir to remember that they were there, to put their coffee cup on when they get back home. So he acknowledges that there is an industry there too for these rugs that are made rather quickly and are made for the tourist trade. So he does wax very poetical in some points, like here, where he talks about Miss Alice Van Leer Carrick. That's a long name. Says in a catalog of the Wesselson sale, which was at the Anderson Galleries in New York. This is going to be like one of these big money rugs. We talked about one that went for like $65,000, $45,000. In the 1920s, this is a lot of money for a rug. Places like the Anderson Galleries, very, very, very elite clientele, as you can imagine. He says, or she says rather, it was just this vivid personal quality that I want to stress, for in some way it makes them, meaning the rugs that were in the show, makes them akin to the direct craftsmanship of the furniture. That's why I hate when the old country women hereabouts called boughten patterns. These completely lack the naive spontaneity which women working by a fireside on snowbound afternoons, or men in their long hours of winter evenings. Again, another shout out to men who are rug hooking. There's multiple shout outs to men rug hooking in this book, and that in itself is pretty unusual. This is like the umpteenth, and I'm only on page 86 here. Snowbound afternoons, men in the long hours of winter evenings were able to create upon their canvases, which were strips of stretched burlap with colors of home-dyed pieces of cloth and skeins of yarn. They reflected the life around them, the cat sleeping on the hearth, their memories of gold and crimson autumns, the blues of the faience upon the tall mantel. Yes, many of them had or knew faience. Now, faience, you probably know, is that kind of pottery. It's like a French pottery that is like a white background and almost like a lot of like blue and white Delft, but paprika colors, golden colors too, lots of spotted florals on them. That style of pottery is called faience. So a reference that we don't use every day now. But there are these moments in the book where there is a huge shout out. Oh, me too, Sheila. I've only seen, Sheila, those little souvenir rugs a handful of times, I have to say. I do see them. I saw one in Rhode Island not that long ago. It was about this big, just bigger than a coaster. I saw one somewhere else. I can't remember where it was, in another antique store. They're very small. I'm seeing them, when I see them, I've maybe seen 3 or 4 in total. I'm usually seeing them for about $10 to $15, so not very much. They're like a single coaster size. I just can't think of a use for them. They would be great as dollhouse rugs, a full-size dollhouse rug if you have dollhouses. But I guess I should be picking them up when I see them. I just think of it as another $15 here, another $15 there. And they are pretty cookie cutter, but it is nice. One of them I did see the Chatty Camp thing, the label sewn on the back, and I really should have gotten that one because Chatty Camp, of course, right? Next time I go, I'll see if it's still there. But at least to photograph and put them on our page so you can all see them. They're very sweet. So, they are talking about the older rugs in a romantic way, which I like because there's not a lot of that in this book. I like it when talking about rugs and rug making among country people who are untrained is spoken about in a romantic and positive way. I like that. So they're also talking about how certain patterns are often repeated in localities. There's a little bit of misinformation at this point because he's attributing to the fact that there are a lot of repeat patterns. He's attributing it solely to the idea of a hooking bee, like a sewing bee or a quilting bee. And he's not really acknowledging, and of course this is very early days, he's not really acknowledging the presence of really well ensconced missions, right? Like the Maine mission. He talks about different towns in Maine where there are real similar patterns happening, and he's probably referring to areas where there are missions set up, where people are working off the same pattern. and possibly like also doing bees and sharing each other's patterns that way. But he doesn't make mention yet, and I think it's because it's the reality of the missions and that whole movement is happening right at the time that he's writing this book. So I'm not sure that he's aware that it's happening around him. I'm not sure that he's aware. He doesn't mention it. So I would add to the commentary in these early chapters, yes, there are a lot of repeat patterns, not just because of commercial patterns, the presence of commercial patterns, but also because of bees, right? Women getting together, but also because there are a lot of organized schools and there's a lot of organized missions already. And within those, they will produce unique patterns that are unique to their group. So that's, I think, an important addition to make. Sad to say, however, the effect of the bad shop design is seen almost everywhere. That's one of his references to the souvenir rug that you see. So, or possibly a reference, shop design could either be a reference to the souvenir rug or it could be a reference to the commercial design that appears in the village shop. It's not clear. But one thing that he does say, and I'm going to stop in a minute, is really interesting. He says, in terms of giving direction to people, because if you remember, he's taught you in an earlier chapter how to rug hook, telling you, make a hook and make it a medium size, build a frame, and get going. So it's the instruction is not super detailed the way that we would expect it to be now, I think, with our fold-out directions in 17 different languages. It's not that. But he does say, by way of instruction and encouragement, he says, it would be an excellent practice in making to copy exactly, at least once, the best small antique hooked rug obtainable, lots of commas. Copier, mais toujours copier juste. So in other words, he switches to French for no apparent reason, and he's saying copy, but just copy. Juste is like fairly or accurately, correctly. Copy, but just copy correctly. Like do it right. Copy it exactly the way that you see it. Find a good rug and copy it exactly the way that you see it. Don't put your own spin or interpretation on it. But I think the idea of partially this idea of copy something, that's the way to learn. That is a good idea. That's the way artists learn how to draw, is by copying things, right? Being inspired by things, wink, wink. You do that with hooked rugs too. If you love something, copy it. It'll give you a leg up in terms of like, oh, okay, well, I'm shading this corner out. It looks pretty much like that looks. I think I'm getting the hang of it here. The more copying you do, of course, the better you get. You copy things that you like. Don't copy things that someone else tells you is like the pinnacle of success in terms of a hooked rug design. Copy what you think is the best hooked rug design or your favorite hooked rug. Just don't put it on Facebook so everybody can blast you, right? So let's see, what time is it? It's getting late already. I think maybe I'll save this for next time. Let me see how close to the end of the chapter I am. Yeah, let's save this for next time because he's going to start talking about inventions, rug hooking inventions that are new in the late 1920s when he wrote this book. He's going to go into talking about Ebenezer Ross and his novelty machine, which was one of the shuttle machines for hooking. And he's going to talk about a few things that people came out with at that time, very famous names that they put out for sale that were supplies to help rug hookers who are contemporary to Winthrop Kent and to all of these big names. So let's start with that tomorrow because that's a whole different area of rug hooking history. Thinking about what your opportunities were in terms of obtaining supplies if you lived in the 1920s. It's remarkably a lot, I have to say. Already they've got the village store and we don't. So already I think they have a huge leg up on us now in 2021. But we'll start there tomorrow. I just want to remind you, I put some of these designs in the Kent book up on the Ribbon Candy Hooking site. If you're liking antique designs, I love antiques and everything old. I love antique designs. I put up some. This is called the Big Droop, the Big Droops. It's like an oversized floral with big droopy fronds. They're flowers, but I thought they were real cute. I think I showed you this one, Thistle and Hex. This is the alternating pen Dutch heart with like a thistle design, and you could do anything with this. You could do a different thing in each block should you want to. And then this was, I call this one Summer Spray. This was just a very, I think, effective floral. Very effective floral. This time of year, what a few little grapes in there, right? Hook it while you have some wine. Just a nice thing to do this time of year. Marble cake and flowers. This one I put out too. This is I was in the corners. It looks very dark, but obviously that's just I'm suggesting marble cake, right? You don't have to do that exactly by any means. Just an interesting, very naive design, very simple flower pot with some very simple flowers in the foreground. If you remember from looking at the Kent book on Friday night, the background to the diamond was black, and this was brown and black, the marble cake. So a lot of the flowers were actually white in pastel colors. It was kind of the reverse of what one would think. This was my favorite one that came out of this whole book. I named it Mantle Garden. These didn't really have names. And this one is up there too. We're going to look at this one tomorrow during coffee time, and we're going to carry on with the commentary on the Kent book. But yeah, I love this one. It's a mantle clock surrounded by a couple of flower pots, very stylized, very arts and crafts, in a partial wreath. So I thought that was really, really, really a strong design. I was pulling out the designs that I thought were the most interesting of the older designs because I love to honor them, and I'm going to be doing more with hooking them, hopefully soon. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great day. I will be back with you tomorrow for a continuation of Kent, and we'll catch up on anything else that happens between now and then. But have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you in the morning, same time, same place, noon Eastern Standard Time, Ribbon Candy Hooking Channel. See you then. Please like, thumbs up, share, comment, anything you can do that helps out, and I'll see you tomorrow.